Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast of Blueblood on the Mainline, where we talk all Villanova basketball with our greats, our legends, our past players and current players. We talk all things basketball and our love for it. This individual that's coming on next with our next episode truly needs no introduction, but for the sake of formality, I introduce to you a dear friend, someone I look up to, someone that we always hear a lot about when I was in school, and Coach Wright always does a great job teaching us our history. The number 7th pick of the NBA draft, 13-year vet, New Jersey legend, Tim Thomas. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Oh man, appreciate it. How's everything?
Everything is great. Like we talked about a little bit. You know, let's start this off. Everyone got to know. I always like to say, before anything becomes the new wave, before everything becomes the norm, there was always nothing is just never new. All of a sudden, there was always someone who sometimes a sacrificial lamb because people didn't understand this individual or this thing was ahead of its time, or people just don't know the depth. I truly believe today's modern game, you were an example of that before the game was ready to accept your greatness. And you being the number 1 player in the country at one time with a class where you had Vince, you had Kobe. Like, talk about what was that like playing in, because it still existed when I played, but it was even thicker when you played, where you had ABCD camp. Everything was split up between Nike and Adidas, and you had a lot of talent. At night in, night out, you had to bring it, even with guys scoring, getting all the ratings, especially being on the East Coast. Bring us through that AAU basketball and what it meant.
I tell kids all the time, that's when AAU basketball was truly the Wild Wild West, where at any given tournament, any given weekend, you never know who you was going to run into, right? So, the old saying, bring your shoes, lace them up, and make sure they're tight. It was like that every single weekend. Like, it was just that way because, again, it wasn't that many teams. The good teams was, recognized throughout the country. And on each weekend, you wanted to be in one of those tournaments. So if a team called you, it didn't matter, what team it was, a New York team or a California team or Atlanta team. You wanted that competition. So you went out. And I tell kids all the time, there's no way, the way they have it now, the way they have a structure where you could kind of hide players, there's no way these kids would be able to survive nowadays.
Mm-hmm. It definitely was tough. And again, I just remember going through it myself, but hearing a lot about when you played in your days. A great discussion of a topic of discussion was when you would speak about the ABCD experience, and you playing against Jermaine O'Neal and Kobe playing, and let them know you basically was sidelined for being talented. For banging on someone, getting your nail ripped off. Talk about that.
So my AAU days, my AAU team is probably still considered the greatest AAU team ever assembled. Myself, Kobe Bryant, Vince Carter, Kevin Freeman, Donald Hand. We just had a talented group of guys. Rip Hamilton played with us for a little bit as well. Mm-hmm. But again, those days were, the Wild Wild West days, and you had to bring it. So with ABCD camp, our senior year, we went in, myself and Kobe got arrested. So we went in 1 and 2, 2 and 1, however you wanted to, put it. And like you said, I was sidelined for banging on someone. The first night into the camp, I was facing Jermaine O'Neal, and I dunked the ball and ripped off my fingernail. And I was done the rest of the camp. So that's exactly when, Kobe took over the number 1 rank. And, we went on the rest of the summer going into the McDonald's All-American game and then the Magic Round Ball game. So, it was very, very exciting times, for the both of us, having the opportunity, or the 3 of us, Jermaine O'Neal as well, having the opportunity to, come right out of high school. And that was a huge, huge decision for all of us. Those two guys decided to go, and I choose the Mainline. So
right.
That's how.
I'll be honest. Selfishly, I'm glad you didn't go right out because I wouldn't have claimed to be a part of the same fraternity as you, and
right.
More than likely, there's 99% chance we don't have the connection and the bond that we have now from being a fellow Wildcat. But even before we go into Villanova, share some stories from the McDonald's All-American game and the Brown Bar Classic, and the different dynamics and being in a hotel room and the conversations that you have with the players.
Well, that was great. I mean, it was the first time, we got a chance to be around some of the other, guys throughout the country that was, McDonald's All-Americans. First time meeting Mike Bibby and, guys like that, Steven Jackson as well, guys like that. And just, being around the guys and soaking in the moment, of course, again, we had decisions to make as far as if we was going to go pro or not. But for me, again, fingernail,
right.
I lost the #1 rank, and I just wanted to prove to people that if I did decide to come out, I'm the guy that should go first.
Right.
So my ego was like, next level with everything. And, those two actual games, for me, it was just statement games. And if you go back and you see those games, the first 3 minutes, 5 minutes of the game, I pretty much controlled the McDonald's All-American game. Jump ball, got to steal, alley-oop, and I just kept doing numerous things throughout the first couple of minutes of the game just to showcase my talent.
Right.
And then Shaheen Holloway wins, the MVP.
Right.
Me and Kobe, didn't get our hands on that.
Right.
Now it's time to go, to the Magic round ball game, and it's the same thing because again, we're on the same team, So I end up winning East MVP in the Magic game. But those weekends was great, man. I mean, we got a chance to really, have some insight on each other and try to figure out, where our careers are going to start as far as pros. When is it going to start?
Right.
And again, like I said, those two guys, Jermaine and Kobe, decided to go pro, and I went the college route.
And here it is, you went the college route, you choose Villanova. We previously spoke with Ed Pinckney, and you had, at the time when you had Georgetown, you had St. John's, number 1, 2 in the country every year, and he chooses Villanova. Villanova is still the small private school, even though he wins the national championship, right? Here comes Tim Thomas over a decade later, right?
Right.
Villanova still didn't have that strong, it wasn't what it is today. It wasn't still that flat out powerhouse. And we had some ballers, we had the J Law around, that around that same time. And, Kerry, and
Curry was the year before.
Right, the year before you. So there was something there. It just wasn't a hole in the wall, but it wasn't, for someone who could have came straight out of high school, someone, and I'll say what it was. You was a freaking man child. You were a man child, and that was this just being honest. You were a man child. What makes you choose Villanova? Speak to the credit of the school. Like, what draws someone like yourself?
Well, first of all, Paul Hewitt did a great job with recruiting me. Him and Steve Lapis, they did an excellent job with recruiting me. I just talked to Paul about 4 days ago.
Okay.
But the real reason why I chose Nova, it was basically my position. I wanted to play the 3. I wanted to showcase my skill set.
Right.
We had probably the biggest front court ever with myself, Chuck Cornegay, and Jason Lawson.
Tell the people the heights, just so they know, just in case.
Yeah,
let them know.
J Law is a 7-footer, right? Chuck Cornegay is about 6'9", and I was 6'10", playing the 3.
Right.
And then we had a 6'5" point guard in Alvin Williams, and John Celestin was our shortest guard, and he was 6'4".
But had the heart of a what?
Of a lion. You know it. The fastest hands in the business.
Yeah.
so for me, I mean, it basically came down to me with the coaches allowing me to play my position, which was the 3 spot. Going into the league at that particular time, you're 6'9", 6'10", you're going to be listed as a 4 man, right? 4 or 5, right? So I just wanted to show that, I can do more. I can handle the ball. I can shoot the ball. And it wasn't just, something that I was doing in high school or coming up. I wanted to show that I can really, really do it at a high level, So that was really the key for me. Getting on campus, I never took an official visit, by the way, right? So every time I went down, I just hung out with Al and Jay and the guys, went and got cheesesteaks, and we was just talking about the future. Never took official visit, but the one time I did go down to check out a game, Paul Hewitt told me something that would, similar to what you said, that would stick forever. He said, you have opportunity to be the guy to send a lot of other talented guys here. Because like you said, Nova wasn't known for that in particular, which was, receiving McDonald's All-Americans and, things like that. So, and I thought about it. And knowing that, I could have been a pro, that was something that, really stuck. And then once I went on to the NBA, just the family atmosphere that still remains at Nova is everything, right? Lapis, steps down, he's doing other things. Jay Wright come in, and he instantly reaches out to me, and we build a relationship. He comes up, plays in my softball game. He meets 50 Cent and a bunch of other entertainers, Hollywood entertainers. And that's how the whole Hoop Madness thing started, with all of the rappers coming in.
That was my class.
50 was the first guy to come. And then, every year I'm talking to Jay, and he's like, Tim, who are we going to get this year? We got to get someone better, the following year. So, but it was just one of those things where, again, on the basketball aspect of it all, being able to go to Nova and play the 3 was everything for me. And that's what drew me in.
Okay. Do you remember during that time? So I don't know. I mean, you've done so much. At that time, we had, you had came up, and you remember when you have the Villanova basketball camp, at the end of camp, the last day, that you get to see the current players play. Yeah. Sometimes there's some alumni there. You were there. Yeah. You were there. I was, I think, like a sophomore. Right?
I think he was a sophomore.
Freshman, sophomore, this before like the double microfraction. So I still had a little bounce. I still had, I still was super athletic. And you came there, and a lot of people, one thing I want to say, a side note, I will hope from this session, speaking one another, people don't realize how cool and down to earth you are, man.
Yeah,
you're like a different breed, and I mean, I know you hear in front of my face, and it's easy to say nice things about someone when you hear, but I say this about it's common among Villanova people, but guys that I really met, it was you, and there's others. It was you. Al is very down to earth. Alvin Williams, for those who don't know, when I say Al, so was Jay Law. So was John Haynes. Is another. People will see how rough he is and don't know. John Haynes is the kind of dude. He seemed all rough, and then you mess around, you literally need a shirt, he'll take it off his back and give you a shirt, especially if you're family. So people don't realize that. So here it is, you come down, cool as ever, they make the place feel like a certain way. You thought you were like some guy overseas, and we were all like soon to be pros, and you just want to be the OG and just be cool with us, not this stud in the league. And we were playing in the game, and you was on an opposing team. And I remember I had the ball. I can't remember what I did. I ain't dunk or nothing like that, but I try to go at you, score. You know how it is, New York. Again, you are years ahead, but I still was in that same era of, yo, we got to play, especially someone on the court. There's no playing around. Just okay. Right. And I scored on you, and I'll never forget it. And when I say scored on, it wasn't like so people was listening, I worked there. It wasn't like you was trying to guard me, and I was like, yeah, man, I took him to the rim. I mean, you were just there, and you looked at me like, oh, you want to do that? Man, you just fall down like someone in high school playing against some junior high kids and dunked it so hard on my teammate. I think it was Chris Charles. I felt bad because I'm the one that made you do that.
Yeah.
Remember that? I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I remember that. I used to live around the corner from campus.
Yeah.
So I was always in the area. Ed Pinkney introduced me to the security guard, and during the off season, I used to go and work out 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, stuff like that, because I used to see him do it. I'm like, why is Ed Pinkney here, working out? But it's just something about, being on campus, it just motivates you. You know what I mean? When you have to get something done. But yeah, I definitely remember that. I mean, there's been so many different occasions where, I'll come in, coach will ask me to come in and, I'll, play pickup with you guys or talk to you guys, and, whether it's a game, Final Four, whatever, the case may be. But, it's just that atmosphere. It's that family atmosphere.
I just remember that was my intro, because I'm like, what are these league guys about, right? And the way you did that, honestly, the way the way you did it, it was kind of like, man, is that what it's like? And then I'm starting to question myself. I said, if he did that, was that easy? But it was nice, man. So at that time, you were young, you were in your young years in the league, and a lot of people don't realize like your experience. I think we'll go through that progression, but here it is. Your intro, you first there, and you were a young AI, right? How was that? Like, you have any stories, fun stories, anything like about being in the locker room, being on that squad? Speak to people, like, so they understand just the level of play in the NBA, just the simple level, practice, games, like, without people trying to play like their life is on the line, even just your effort, your effort, like, no, I'm a really hoop today. Let them understand, like, what was that like in practice every day? AI going, you going, or, same team, opposite teams, talk to them.
I mean, it was all a learning experience. I mean, it's like, any other job, your first month, on the job, you're trying to figure things out. But for me, I was soaking in the fact that I had veteran guys around that really can just, you could sit down and talk to. And, as a former player, like, that's so important. It's key, because, you're going through so many different emotions, and there's so many different elements in a 6 to 8 month span, right? When you're around a certain group of guys, they're all older than you, they're all experienced, and you're just trying to figure out life, right? So for me, being around Derek Coleman, someone that I looked up to, he kind of, guided me and helped me, through the process. I had a guy like Tom Chambers, who was on his way out of the league.
I think it was 38 at the time,
Yeah, he was on his way out of the league. So, he really was a guy that, every day in practice, he would tell me, where I should be, and, how to pick my spots, and not just play off the game naturally, because that's the easy part, right? So once you learn the X and O's and where you should be and what you should be doing, then the game is 10 times easier, right? So, it was guys like that, Terry Cummins, who was also, a solid, 4-man. And, we used to call him Rev, because, he always, at that age, he was a lot older, and, always wanted us to go to Bible study and stuff like that. And, I'm 20 years old, in the league. So, but, those experiences was great. And then you add the fact that, you're on a team with one of the guys that are, is a Hall of Famer now, but at that moment, he was just a freak of nature, right? One of the fastest, quickest, smallest guys, but played with the biggest heart. And you was just in awe, because, each and every night you're like, how is this guy? And we're talking about an era where, guys will take you out and, hip check you and, all of that kind of stuff. It was really, really physical. And, I just, was in awe of the fact that, he was a guy that was, such a competitor, and he was just so small, and for me, I got drafted by Jersey and then got traded to Philly on draft day, right? And the one thing that stuck with me was the fact that, like all of us, right? We all want to play street ball, right? And Allen had a little bit of that in him, but his quickness allowed you to make it a street ball game if necessary, right? You could just outrun people. So me being a versatile, 6'9", 6'10" guy, that was click. It was like, okay, I could get up and down with this guy and run the floor and get easy buckets. So I knew that part of the game was going to be easy. It was just figuring out my niche on the team, where I was going to be able to fit in amongst, the vets, showcasing my talent. Am I going to be at the 3 spot, or am I going to play behind DC and the guys at the 4 spot, things like that. And then, getting with Larry Brown and our first training camp was at North Carolina, right? And, it's all new to us, and I'm doing individual workouts in the morning, practicing with the team. Then, more individual workouts at the end of practice, and it's all new. It's different. It's totally different from college, right? And it was just one of those things where when you're young, the saying, you never get tired.
Right.
But at that moment, you kind of realize, like, okay, this is really, really work. It's fun in games, but it's really work. And you have to outwork, your opponents and your teammates to get that time. So at that moment, that's when I just locked in. I said, you know what? Larry Brown doesn't know what to expect from me. I'm new. He's going to play the veteran guys that's been around. But it's up to me to listen to the veteran guys that's not playing anymore. That's at the end of the bench. You take all of that in, and then, go out and beat the guys that are still in their prime. And, that's what happened. There was a guy, Mark Davis, was in front of me, athletic, great on the defensive end. At that time, you had those defensive guys, in the league. Wasn't a great scorer, couldn't shoot the ball as well. So I know at that moment, I said, okay, if I really focus in on my craft, in due time, I'll be, cracking that starting lineup. And, that's what it was. It took me about a month and a half to really convince Larry Brown. And then it also took a couple of veterans to speak up and say, why is Tim not playing? And yada, yada. And then, we went off and, did some pretty good things, trying to gel, towards the middle of the season. But it was great. It was great overall. Just getting into the lead and getting your feet wet with some guys that you, wanted to go into the foxhole with.
And there's another thing. So you go from there and you go to Milwaukee, right? We kind of touched on this before. I've yet to hear people speak about, because everyone always wanted, you end up playing on the Suns later on after that. And everyone, remember I told you, there's always a hint of the future before people recognize it. So it's interesting. You as a player were the future that exists today in terms of, think about it. If people can create a player in terms of height, size, skill, and you're not tooting your own horn, you're in the game, we're all in the game, involved in the game. Imagine if you're on a board on draft night in today's world. You kidding me? You kidding at the size, height? Because you weren't like when people say someone plays a small. Oh no, you're not a slim guy. You were slim enough, but you have enough girth and everything. Oh yeah, you're bang with the force to play defense, and then offensively you're gonna pull them out and eat them all day. But with that being said, you also was on a future team that exists today. It was Sam Cassell, Ray Allen, Glenn Robinson. You had yourself, right? Then it was the following year or 2 years later, Michael Redd was on the bench, a young Michael Redd.
Right.
That kind of team will actually be a prototype of today's ideal team, and you just fit in some small, big. Speak to being talented and gifted. So many of you guys being talented and gifted in who you are, talent-wise, being ready for the future, but living in yesterday's game. How was that? Do you have any stories or any defining moments where you thought about certain things, or go ahead?
Yeah, always. You always had guys critiquing your game, right? Similar to like what it is now, right? So, being 6'10", they figured you shouldn't be shooting threes, or you shouldn't be, getting a rebound and, bringing it up the court. I mean, only one guy did it in 82, Magic Johnson. He played 1-5, right? So it's like, wait, that's not supposed to happen now. But I mean, there was a lot of guys who had that skill set. I mean, for me, guys like Detlef Schrempf, Scottie Pippen, guys that can handle the ball, shoot the ball, play so many different positions. So, when I look at the game now, of course, I see myself all in it, right? I mean, you have 6'10", 6'11", like Kevin Durant, like his rookie year, like everyone was saying the guy is 6'10". I'm like, he's towering over me.
I've been impressed. He's huge.
Yeah, he's 7 foot, and I'm like, he's a 7-footer with that kind of skill set, right? Now you have these high school kids. The other day on ESPN, you have 2 7-footers handling the ball, shooting threes, and creating stuff. Handling the ball. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But I mean, of course, you always. For me, I always see myself in today's game, and to go back to the Bucks. I mean, that team right there is what you would consider to be one of like the Houston Rockets of today, right? So I always tell people like that 0-1 series against the Sixers, I'm like, how did we lose that series? We had all scorers, and those guys had veteran guys, but they had one scorer, which was, AI at that time. So, I mean, it was just a tricky, atmosphere. AI got it done, obviously. But when you look at today's game, I mean, you see me all up and down, and definitely being ahead of my time is the right thing, because I definitely see the future being this way. I mean, back to the basket is no longer exists, right? I mean, and even if a guy does go back to the basket, I mean, they're shooting some type of fadeaway, over one. You know what I mean? It's not the dominant Shaq or, Olajuwon or, guys like that. It's not that era anymore,
Right. And then so with the Bucks, you playing with, everyone knows how well of a shooter Ray Allen is, right? What people forgetting, Ray used to like to put the ball on the floor and dunk you, right? How was it?
Yes.
Do you have any memorable moments in practice or in games where a Ray Allen saw, or even Glenn Robinson? Because I couldn't imagine how practice was having Sam Cassell, Ray Allen, Glenn Robinson, and yourself. I couldn't imagine things y'all were doing to each other in practice. But speak, like, do you have any memorable moments, practice or game, where like Ray Allen or Glenn Robinson?
Yeah, I mean, it was for me, it was a battle almost every day, because again, I got traded from Philly. And once I went to Milwaukee, I realized, I said, there's not enough basketballs, on the court for us. Right. And we had a coach in George Karl, who was a defensive coach in Seattle. And we kind of turned them into a Mike Dunleavy, more of an offensive coach. So our practices used to be hell, when we did practice. George was great at, if you won 10 games, he'll, let you take a couple practices off and maintenance days and things of that nature, because we was really trying to get over that hump, but the times that we actually did practice, it was hell. I remember numerous times me and Glenn Robinson, getting into scuffles, because again, he was the money guy, I was a younger guy. I wanted to get that position or get more minutes, so to say. And I just had to wait my turn. But in the meantime, I was just going at everybody's head in practice. Yeah. And that was one of the reasons why Ray Allen said, if I wanted to, I could have been the best player, in the entire league. But again, I was held back because of the position that I was in. Right. When you look at your peers, or you look at the guys who are the superstars, you have to be in position to shoot the ball a certain amount of time, stuff like that. So, going from a situation in Philly where I thought I could have been, the second guy or the third guy on that team, then I get traded. Now I'm turned into the fourth guy or the fifth guy instantly, Right. Yep.
And plus, it don't help that I think regardless of how talented you were, regardless of what you were doing in practice, the thought of, oh, put Ray, Glenn, and Sam Cassell on the court at the same time was like we can't just play him at the 4 just for defense and then offensively, spread out, which any coach would do today in a heartbeat,
Right.
Do you remember any practices where, like, again, you trying to prove yourself, Ray ain't that much older than, there ain't that much age separation between you guys like that, where you saw him and he just like went off and hit like 7, 8 threes, like, or it's just like 4 or 5 in a row. You remember you had any of those moments?
I do remember one practice where a young Dwayne Wade came to practice.
Okay.
Dwayne was in college, in town, and he came to practice, and he was basically trying to come in and get a feel for what the league was like, right?
Right.
You had some talented guys on that team with Sam and Ray, and then also with Glenn and myself. And, he came in with an ego and he was just trying to give it to us, right?
Right.
And I've seen Ray, he was giving it to Ray for a couple of minutes. And similar to our story earlier, I just seen Ray hit the switch, right? Yeah. And Ray just went off. And then at the end of practice, D Wade kind of realized, like, okay, that's the kind of work I have to put in.
Yeah.
And then he went on, that year and had a great year, and then, came on out. But I mean, there was numerous times where, again, we had super vets. I'm talking about guys that can score the basketball. Vinny Del Negro.
Yeah, he was on there.
Myself, J.R. Reed, Big Danny Manning. I'm talking about guys that can score, right? So, during those days, again, things get physical. The game is slower, right? So you really got to pick your poison on what you want to do, how you want to do it, in case things, take it to another level. You might have a game tomorrow, whatever. Yeah. So, guys in practice had their moments or their spurts, whether it would be 10 minutes, 12 minutes. And, guys just showed what they was capable of doing. With Ray, he was a guy that, can handle the ball, can shoot the ball, very athletic. Glenn Robinson was a mid-range genius, could get a shot off against anyone. He had that little hitch in his shot. Yeah. And then Sam Cassell was a guy that was a scoring point guard, was a big point guard, had success early with winning, 2 championships with Houston. And he just came with a bunch of experience. And again, he was a mid-range assassin. Right. So, you just had to really, soak all of that in. And for me, again, I was still young, so I was able to kind of learn and grow a little bit as well from those guys. So it really helped me. I was the first sub, no matter what position. George Carl allowed me to play 1 through 5. So it was convenient. I mean, if you go back in that 01 series, I was chasing Allen Iverson off of down screens. Triple. I'm talking about triple screens. 6'9", 10.
How was that, man? How was that? Where's a little quick self?
It was again, I was in shape. I was young. Right. You don't know better. You balling, right? So for me, I felt the effects because, again, I'm chasing a little guy, right? It's not like I was guarding him 94 feet coming up. Right. What we would do is he'll probably bring it up or he'll run to a side, and whatever side he run to, I would just switch off. Mm-hmm. And before the action started in the play, I would just chase him. So being, big guy, if I got, picked off, we would just switch and try to send him, right back to me. So that way I could switch off on him, right? But again, they had a veteran, super veteran coach over there in Larry Brown. Helping AI out. And AI was just talented, man. He could score the ball, no matter what. He was going to get his shots, right? So it wasn't too much that you can do to kind of slow him down. But it was special because it showed me that I can, number one, do it, chase a guy, off screens like that, and kind of stay in front of him and make him shoot, a contested shot. But a lot of times, as the pace of the game picks up, he was a guy that never got tired. I mean, never got tired. So, within my minutes, as long as the series went 7 games.
No, it was a great series.
Lost in 7.
It was a great series.
Yeah, it was a great series. So, you have to pick and choose your poison on, when to push up on them, when to force him to shoot shots, jump shots. But, with Allen, if he makes one, it's over.
Man, especially if you start hitting that long ball, the few times where they didn't pick for this.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Because if he makes the long ball, now you got to get a little closer. Right. And once you get a little closer, he's gone.
He's gone with that crossover.
Yeah. So.
So, all right. So here's the thing. So you're moving on. Like, here it is. You're in like your last stint, like your last 4 years. You go to, I think you went to, it was the Suns, right? You were with the Suns, then you went with the Clippers, and you end up finishing with the Mavs, right? But
I went Knicks. I went from Milwaukee.
Right.
I left Milwaukee and went back home to New York.
Right.
And then I got traded.
1 year, right?
Yeah, that was a year and a half.
Right.
And then midway, I got traded because I was coming off the books, meaning your contract is up.
Yeah.
Do we lose him?
Yeah. Let me see. So he'll have to chime back in, right?
Yeah, I'll let him back in. It's all good.
How does that work? You just cut it up?
I'll piece it together. It's all good.
Okay.
We're not live, so I can always.
Okay, yeah. Here's the good thing. Let me tell my son, Junior. Oh, Junior's up there. I told him to stay in the room and be quiet. I'm recording the podcast show.
Yeah, I'm back. My bad.
Yeah, you there?
We got you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I know that.
Hold on 1 second. Let me tell this. Yeah. My man, you get your sit right here, boss. All right. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Yeah.
I remember you said you had you went to the Knicks. Yeah, you had a little short stint with Chicago too, right?
Yeah, so I left. I got traded from Milwaukee to New York. Was in New York a year and a half, and then I got traded from New York to Chicago. I was coming off the books. I mean, last year your contract.
Right.
So I went to Chicago, and then from Chicago, I went to Phoenix.
Mm-hmm. And at Phoenix, tell me how that is. Like, did you think of anything? Because here it is. Phoenix started playing. It was at the cusp of what's widely accepted today. Playing with the undersized forward, playing with multi-talented, long, athletic, or fast 1 through 4. And here it is. You're there. You're not prime. But I think it kind of showed everyone how skilled you truly were, how gifted you were again. And it brought back, it was like a nostalgia about it. Because I was, during that time, you got to remember, that's going into my senior year at Nova. And there was a sense, and I'm speaking, so back at your alma mater, like there's a sense of pride, man. And we were excited. Right. It was excited, happy. There was some level of like vindication of just how, because we always felt like, people just really didn't realize how good you really were in skill, and like Phoenix got to show a little bit of that. And remember, you had big moments. Remember that?
Right.
You had big moments.
Yeah.
So how was that?
Yeah. Well, what happened was in Chicago, when I was there, they didn't really want me to play because at that time, again, I was coming off the books, so they basically wanted me there, as a vet, come off the books, then go into free agency.
Right.
But again, I wanted to play to showcase, my talent. So that entire time being in Chicago, it was hell for me because, again, you want to stay in shape, you want to be in rhythm, you want to get traded so you can, showcase your talent to get another contract. So basically what I had to do was I had to get them to buy me out so then I can go, play for another team or whatever, right? So they waited to the last possible second to buy me out, right? So in between all of that time, I asked them to let me go home because they didn't want me around or whatever. And I didn't want to get fined for silly things, you know, that might come up, whatever. So at that time, being a vet, I was like, just let me go home till you guys figure out what you want to do on the business side of things. So, all right. So I was in New York at that time. I was running through Manhattan, going to Basketball City, trying to stay in shape. I was coming down to Nova a couple times, you know, trying to stay in shape, all of those kind of things, right? And once I got to Phoenix, Mike D'Antoni just said, Tim, come in and just play. He said, yeah, I've been hearing you've been playing at the YMCA and just doing this. He said, just come in and play. He said, don't worry about any sets. Just play your game. Play pick and roll with Steve. If you post up, we'll find you, whatever. But just play the game, right? And I never forget, Kurt Thomas and Amari Stoudemire was hurt. Those are the two bigs. They was hurt. So the only thing that they really wanted me to do was rebound the ball because I was, you know, 6'10".
Wow.
Other than that, it was just like play a game. Just play off the flow of the game. So actually, Jay, the first month, I was just playing basketball. No sets, no anything. Just playing basketball, right?
Yeah.
So within that month, now I'm getting myself in shape. I'm starting to learn the playbook. You know what I mean? I'm starting to gel with the guys. I'm figuring out where Rajah Bell likes the ball. I'm learning how fast Barbosa is, similar to Iverson. I'm learning the skill set of a Boris Diaw, who's similar to myself. You know, I'm having a full understanding of everything that Steve can do. Like, I'm in awe of what Sean Marion can do with his size. Like, so I'm just trying to figure the whole thing out. And, you know, it just turned out that my skill set allowed me to just fit right in with that, right? And then it was, you know, once I got in shape and we got into the playoffs, we made that run, and people was surprised that I was able to do both things, which was rebound the basketball, play big on defensive end, and then also go down, be in a pick and roll situation, pick and pop, and also score the basketball, you know? So, you know, it was a great round.
Nice. It was a great round. So it's one thing to watch players and then to play with them, you get a newfound respect because you get to, you know, see, because you know what set's supposed to be called. You know when something breaks down. You can see how they manipulate or how they improvise or how they manipulate defense to get the look that they want. How was it playing with Nash?
Right.
Like, you know, what speak to, was there anything, did you have a newfound or a better appreciation playing with him, you know, than from watching him from the outside looking in?
Yeah, definitely. I just didn't know that he was that skilled, right? You know, when you're playing against another team, you get the scouting report and they say, guy can do this, do that, whatever, right? And a lot of times you don't watch other teams play, you know, because you're actually playing, right? So you don't really get a chance to indulge in it that way. But getting there, the one thing I do remember was that he told me he knew that I wasn't going to be fast enough on the pick and roll situation, like a Stoudemire. Because Stoudemire had, at that time, I'm a little older, right? So Stoudemire had, you know, quick feet, you know, agile hips. He can turn his hips and, you know, get down the paint quick, right? So he was basically just trying to pinpoint what can me and him get away with in the pick and roll game. And I basically just told him, I said, look, what I like to do in the pick is hold the pick. I like for your defender to feel me, and he's either going to have to go under or over, right? And Steve said, okay, that's perfect. That's all I need to know. And I'm looking at him like, what? But if you know Steve,
and that's the thing, share that. Like, you know, like when you say, well, if you know Steve, and us basketball people have, you know, a sense of that, like someone who's just listening, explain like what that means.
Yeah, so basically, he's smart enough to understand that I'm going to hold my pick no matter what, right? So the defender has to, with him being such a good shooter, they're going to have to go over the top, 99.9% of the time, because if you go under, he's just going to pull it, right?
Yeah.
So once he said that, he was like, okay, I know what I have to do. So for me, it was easier on an offensive end in the pick and roll situation because I knew exactly what the defender was going to do. Right. 90% of the time, because again, I want that contact on the pick. So if I'm going over to lay it on him and just hold it, he's either going to roll off some way or he's going to chase over and be late. Right. So as he's doing that, guess what? The big guy is in trouble because Steve is either coming at you or he's going to pull up, right, to shoot the shot. So as that's happening, all I'm doing is just popping or sliding away. Right. So what Mike D'Antoni started doing was just started clearing the opposite wing guy or the opposite corner. He would just clear it for me. So I'm holding a pick. Steve is either going to come off, shoot, or come off and penetrate down the paint, shoot his floater or whatever, or find somebody on the weak side, or he's going to throw it back to me. Now I got a big running out to me. That's slow. So he's at my mercy, right? And that's basically what we did to beat, the Lakers, because they had Kwame Brown, who was a legit big, slow feet. And that's how I was able to hit that 1-3 with the pump fake, with scrambling and stuff. So, I mean, it was great to play with a guy that, most of the times, especially back then, guys like Shaq was an instant double team, right? He had the double team that guy as soon as he walked in the building. But when you start realizing like teams are double teaming Steve, like that's, a different element, right? So for me, as the only big, now I'm starting to slip the screen. I'm learning from Sean Marion. I'm running to the corner before anything even happens. I'm no longer holding the pick, right? And that's how you get more open shots. So it was just a matter of just, really figuring out what Steve wanted from me in that pick and roll situation. And then once we got that down pat, everything else was easy.
That was it. So last thing I want to speak about is, so here it is, man. You have this great career going into college. You had a strong freshman year. They make it's called Villanova Legends. They make this video boards. I think you were the first one. Like, you just brought out everything. You jumped the show because Coach Wright does guards, forwards, and he doesn't just do position. He loves position list. And he used to say, when someone asks what kind of player you are, say you're a ball player. Like what position, I'm a player, right? So I remember watching you. So you have a great year at college. You have a 13 years. See, 13 years is a long time. You have a 13 years where you're balling to the day you finish. Like, meaning like you have the skill set. It wasn't, you wasn't, if anyone wanted to use you or wanted to push you, you had it. You had it in you. Great career. Let everyone know, I know, but let everyone else know like the great work you're doing now.
Well, right now I'm running a high school. I'm head of basketball operations called Pioneer Academy in Wayne, New Jersey. I've started an AAU program called the Players 27 years ago. 23 years ago.
Let me chime in right there. See, this is why people need to hear all of this. That's another thing. When you had the players, which I don't know if you know, I played a few tournaments with them and we won all of them. Like that summer, I think that summer I didn't lose one tournament. I won everything with the Long Island Panthers, and then I played. Remember you said you called with another team and just to play? Yeah. Won all the players. They had Elijah Ingram and other guys, but you were one of the first ones to do that too. People don't realize that was common, but you were one of the first ones to do that. Go ahead, though.
Yeah, I started the program in '97, my rookie year. So I'm, one of the top programs in the country. Right. We produced 25 NBA players, 19 McDonald's All-Americans. So, great success there. I also started a girls EYBL program 23 years in. It's called New Jersey Sparks. Based out of New Jersey as well. But yeah, man, I just been, heavy in the grassroots area, making sure I give back there. And now I have this new situation here with the school. So we're looking to, turn this into, a powerhouse, a Mount Verdi type situation. Right. There where we can have these kids ready to play their freshman year in college. Mm-hmm. We all know now that, the day of AAU is like really taking off. Right. Everyone is a trainer, nowadays and all of that kind of stuff. So these kids are not getting everything that they need to be prepared for the next level. And we want to make sure that our kids is ready across the board academically and, with athletics. So, that's what it's about.
Yeah. Tell everyone again the name of the boys and girls program.
The girls program is the New Jersey Sparks. The AAU program is the Tim Thomas Players. And the high school situation is Pioneer Academy in Wayne, New Jersey.
That's great. So everybody, Tim Thomas, Blueblood on the Mainline, thanks you for being a guest. I love talking to you every single time. I never really got to, because it's just so natural, I never really got to formally tell you, like, you meant a lot to me with my time at Villanova and others, but it was special watching. Again, it felt vindicated when you was with the Sun. We were so proud. And then afterwards, after everything, I think my fondest memories are the times that we did run into each other, or that we did chop it up after that, because the way you carry yourself really embodies Villanova basketball when it comes to you would think that I literally was related to you. I'm telling you how I felt. Like, as if I was related to you, or I played for the Tim Thomas Plays for 4 years, and you see me for 4 years, and I helped the program so much. But it just speaks to the Villanova way, where when we see each other, it's all love. And I want to let you know, I feel that love, and it's authentic. Each and every time, it doesn't never feel like you just being obligated, like, let me just talk to him and be nice.
No.
I want to let you know I appreciate that. It's always love, respect. Thank you.
Always love for the Villanova family.
So you know how we do. Once a cat, always a cat.
Always a cat.
All right. God bless you. Take care.
Same here. Be good.